What's going on, guys? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com bringing home the bacon NFL DFS video. This video will be, so we're going to do something different than we did last time. We're just going to combine all of the rankings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defenses for week 2. We're going to go about the top 15 at each position. Obviously, we have a lot more in all of those, but I thought I'd just combine all of those so some of the videos aren't repetitive. Some feedback we've got, so we're going to go with that. We're going to look at the Vegas odds. We're going to check that out real quick, and then we'll get into the rankings as well. We still have contests going on, so no one won last week, but for week 2 contest, all you got to do is be a subscriber, like this video, and tell me down below what quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defenses will score the most amount of fantasy points, and how many fantasy points will they score. So you need the fantasy points to score. So what that'll do is if you get, so you have 5 chances. Each chance, if you are correct, will win a free week of NFL content for FTA Plus over at FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. So that's one way to win. So be a subscriber, like the video, and tell me which quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defenses score the most amount of fantasy points in week 2, and how many fantasy points will they score each one. You have a chance at 5 free weeks every single week we have. So that's one way. The second way to win is really simple. We have 59 more people to go until we hit 7,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Once we hit that 7,000th subscriber, we will do a random.org with all of the subscribers' names, and one lucky person will win a free lifetime subscription. So all you got to do is, if you are not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button there. So to start off, we're going to look at the Vegas odds here. These are as of Wednesday, so not a lot will change, but you'll see some movement. You can see what it opened as and what current is. So if you go to Fantasy Team Advisors, hover over NFL, you can see our NFL Vegas odds right there. So just kind of looking, if you wanted to see which team has the most amount of implied odds, you can sort that. When you click on this, on Vegas odds, you'll get the page, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you can actually open this up in a full screen so you can see it. So that being said, I don't think it's really a surprise the Bills are the highest implied total. Not too much over from the Chiefs, so we know what in week 1 what Josh Allen was able to do. We really know what Patrick Mahomes was able to do. So just kind of looking at this though, the Bills over the Titans. The Bills are opening up as a 10-point favorite, or opened as a 9.5-point favorite. They are currently a 10-point favorite, over under of 49.5, so it should be a shootout there. Same thing with the Chiefs. I mean, we saw exactly, it didn't go as well as I thought it would go. I thought Kyler would have something, but the Chiefs defense that day, as they're not that good, but I mean, they showed up. So nothing against them, but yeah, Chiefs up here 28.6. They opened as a 3-point favorite. They are now a 4-point favorite, and the over-under is going up at 54.5. So if you want to look at that, especially if you're building your DFS lineups, the over-under is something good to look at along with the implied totals. I mean, Vegas isn't wrong all the time. That's how they make their money. So when you're building your lineups, you know, it depends on the player pool you want to go with and what players you want to go with, but you can take it. And then all you have to do is look at that and then take the top 5, top 10 implied team totals to try and build your player pool that way as well. That's a good way. So yeah, these are the currents and the opens. Check that back, daily. We will have those. So that being said, it's really hard as a second one. It's really hard for me not to like Patrick Mahomes this week. I don't think it's going to be a huge surprise. But our NFL Week 2 QB rankings start with Patrick Mahomes as he and the Kansas City Chiefs play host to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Mahomes is coming off a fantastic week 1, like I said. Looks like even though Tyreek is out, a lot of experts were saying that Tyreek is out. He's gone, so it's going to be less of an offense. But really, I mean, when you had Tyreek and when you had Kelsey, you really were only feeding like 2 players the most, and other teams were able to scheme against that. Now with Tyreek gone, you've got Kelsey, and then you've just got a plethora of other options for him to throw to. I will admit, last week I was not on Clyde's Edward-Helaire at all. and that proved he wasn't in the Millie Maker lineup, but he could have been. And the Millie Maker was like 240 on DraftKings, 240, 242 or 241. So, I mean, looking at that, this offense is looking scary. It's crazy, and I love Patrick Mahomes here. So, like I said, we're going to go over the other ones here. If you want to see the rest of the list, you can click the link down below. So, in the description of this video will be the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense rankings all there. So, as of right now, Mahomes at number 1 versus the Chargers. Number 2 is Josh Allen at home versus the Titans. Number 3 is Justin Herbert at home or on the road in Kansas City. The problem is if you're building lineups, you might want to build your your Thursday through Monday lineup or Thursday through Sunday, because the 2 of the 3 top quarterbacks this week play on Thursday night. Usually we have, stinkers on Thursday night, but not to start the season. Last week we saw a great matchup between the Bills and the Rams, Bills side. And yeah, we've got the Chiefs and the Chargers. So looking at that, I got Herbert number 3. Number 4 is Lamar Jackson. Had a great game last week. Didn't have very many, a ton of yardage in the air, but he got the job done there. He does face a Miami team. Their defense is pretty good. I think it was the number 2 defense last week, if I recall. I think Pittsburgh was number 1. Miami was facing Mac Jones, who ended up getting hurt, but we've got Lamar here at number 4. Number 5 is Jalen Hurts versus Minnesota. I saw, we know what Aaron Rodgers wasn't able to do last week, but Jalen Hurts dominated. We had him in multiple lineups. So I like Jalen Hurts at number 5. Number 6 is Kyler Murray at the Raiders. I think Murray has a bounce-back game here. Number 7 is Russell Wilson versus Houston. Now, people are going to say Russell Wilson lost the game. He blah, blah, blah. First off, they lost by, 3 or 1? And Denver fumbled two balls at the literal half-yard line, which would have put them up. So, and Russell Wilson also threw for 360. So, whatever the slander is against him, he didn't win the game. That's not his fault. That's literally on his running backs. But, 360 yards in the air is amazing. You can check out our matchup tool, our Bacon Station. That'll be out there. But that, you can see all the stats there. We're also adding the rankings of the position. So, you can check that out. And if you have questions, let me know. What I'm talking about is this is the quarterbacks, obviously not done yet. And you can't see it on the screen. But let's see. So just kind of looking. How you read this is these are the defenses. These are the stats last year. I don't know if it's more beneficial to see the stats last year or if it's more beneficial just to see the 2022 stats. So most likely starting in week 3, these will all be 2022. But looking at that, we've got all the quarterbacks and the rankings they are for the week. Once that's completed, that'll be out there. And then the stats will be all filled in. So that is part of the premium content that you can check out. We've got that for running back, wide receiver, tight ends as well. So number 8 is Derek Carr versus the Arizona Cardinals. We saw what Patrick Mahomes was able to do. We know Derek Carr has Renfro, who didn't do anything last week. He's got Devontae Adams, who he looked for all the time last week. So that is why my team with Justin Jefferson and Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams absolutely dominated in week 1. He looked for him a ton every time it seemed like he was thrown at him. So I love Derek Carr here. He's being slept on. I love him at number 8. Number 9 is Joe Burrow at Dallas. We know Joe Burrow didn't have a very good game in week 1, which was very shocking. But looking for him to bounce back at Dallas with Dak, Cooper Rush starting this week so far. Number 10 is Tom Brady at New Orleans. He had a good game in week 1, so look to that at New Orleans. Number 11 is Kirk Cousins at Philly. This one, I feel like Kirk Cousins could be a QB1 by the end of the year, if he's not already. He looked for Justin Jefferson every single time. So Kirk Cousins, I like him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 10 moving forward after this week. If he has another good game, I don't see why not. Number 12 is Aaron Rodgers. He just always seems to own the Bears, so I've got him at number 12. Number 13 is Trey Lance versus Seattle. Number 14 is Matt Stafford versus Atlanta. Atlanta's defense isn't very good. Stafford struggled last week against... It was very uncharacteristic-like for him last week. I think he's still hurt. He's still got the weapons around him. Cooper Kupp most likely will get another touchdown. But looking at that, Stafford's... I don't think he's 100%. And number 15 is Jameis Winston versus Tampa Bay, going up against his old team. Revenge narrative, I don't know if you want to call it that. So we could look at that. So those are the top 15 quarterbacks. Let's move on to the running backs. So looking at running backs here, they start with Saquon Barkley this week as he and the Giants host Baker Mayfield and the Panthers on Sunday. To be honest with you, pre-draft, I was all over Barkley. When I got into the drafts, I did not take him. I'm regretting that. If he's healthy, he's on the field, he's amazing. We saw what he did last week, and I think they said he clocked in the fastest at 22.1 miles per hour, which is the fastest he's ran since 2018 or 2019. So love Barkley here. Absolutely love him. So number 1, Saquon Barkley versus Carolina. Carolina, I looked at some game tape in week 1. Carolina gave up a ton. They just couldn't stop anyone, inside or outside, when it came to running back. So that's what I'm looking at. Barkley at number 1. Number 2 is Jonathan Taylor at Jacksonville. Started off slow, but came around. Number 3 is Austin Eckler at Kansas City. Eckler, nothing last week. Didn't enjoy it, but here we are. I've got a number 3. Number 4 is Christian McCaffrey at the Giants. He really... I don't know what's going on. As someone who drafted him in 2 of my leagues, not thrilled about it. It's just one game, we get that, but it seems like after one game, they're just maybe trying to conserve him so he doesn't get hurt. I don't know. We'll see. Number 5 is Dalvin Cook at Philly. Number 6 is Dalvin Cook really didn't do anything last week either. It was a very slow week. It was a very weird week. A lot of expectations were shattered last week. Number 6 is DeAndre Swift versus the Commanders. DeAndre Swift, man, I was building lineups and I kept coming with a salary for Swift, but then I took him out because I wanted to save salary, and he absolutely dominated. Number 7 is Joe Mixon at Dallas. Number 8 is Derrick Henry at Buffalo. I know Buffalo's defense is pretty good, and we didn't see much of Henry last week, which was odd. We saw Hilliard. Don't know what's going on there, but I do have him at number 8 because it's still Derrick Henry. Just when you count Henry out, if he's healthy, he could go off for 3 touchdowns. He could go off for 300 yards in the air and on the ground combined. So you just never know. But I do have him at number 8. Number 9 is Alvin Kamara versus Tampa Bay. Number 10, flip side of that, Leonard Fournette at New Orleans. Number 11 is A.J. Dillon. Obviously, A.J. Dillon's an RB2 being drafted behind Jones, but we saw they had similar snap counts in week 1, and Dillon had a better game. So looking at Dillon at number 11. Number 12 is Javonte Williams. Should have more points than what he had last week. He fumbled at the half-yard line, like I said. I mean, it was crazy. So Javonte Williams versus Houston's not very good defense. We saw them have good game last week, but I don't think it holds up. Number 13 is Nick Chubb at the Jets, or versus the Jets at home. Number 14 is James Conner at the Raiders. And number 15 is Antonio Gibson at Detroit. Now, Antonio Gibson was being a lot of preseason reports saying he's just, special teams, nothing. Dominated last week. He was in the nuts of the Millie Maker. You needed Gibson in the lineup there. So those are the top 15. If you want to see the rest, we do have 120 running backs ranked. So click the link down below. Again, guys, all those views help me. They help me tremendously. Moving on to the wide receivers, again, it's Justin Jefferson. I mean, I had him last week. We were on it. We were on the nuts. He was in the Millie Maker. You needed him. We had him. This week he heads to Philly to face Jalen Hurts in the Eagles secondary. I don't think it really matters who he faces. Like he said, at the end of the year, he'll be the number 1 wide receiver. And I mean, the whole scheme of the Vikings just going to toss it 1,000 times a game. Looks to be fantastic. I mean, Justin Jefferson, he should have had 3 touchdowns last week. He just dropped one. Or no, he didn't drop one. He caught it, but he just missed the end zone. His foot just touched the line coming down for a toe tap. So he should have had 3. Should have had probably 45 plus fantasy points last week. Looking for him to build on that again this week. Do the little gritty against the Eagles. So moving on, number 1 is Justin Jefferson. So, hold on a second. There we go. Looking at this, number 1, Justin Jefferson at Philly, like I said. Number 2 is Cooper Kupp versus Atlanta. Would not be surprised to see Cooper Kupp get multiple touchdowns this week. Those will be some of my bets. Number 3 is Jamar Chase at Dallas. Love Jamar Chase here. If Burrow was a little bit more on last week, Chase could have had even a bigger day. I mean, he had a huge day, but could have been even better. Number 4 is Davante Adams, looking to build up. I think we're going to see Davante Adams have an absolutely massive game here again. We saw what Patrick Mahomes was able to do. I think Derek Carr feeds Adams. Number 5 is Stephon Diggs versus Tennessee. Started off slow last week, but came on, got that touchdown. Number 6 is Michael Pittman at Jacksonville. Had a good game. We were all over Pittman in most of our lineups, and he came through for us. Number 7 is A.J. Brown versus Minnesota. Number 8 is Tyreek Hill at Baltimore. Number 9 is Mike Evans at New Orleans. 10 is Debo versus Seattle. Now, with the injury to Elijah Mitchell. Now, I don't know if you guys were watching on Twitter on Sunday. If you haven't followed us, do follow us on Twitter at advisors_team. But I called, easily, I said Sunday with the way the field was, just 3 inches of rain on the field. I knew someone was going to tear up a knee. Could have probably called Elijah Mitchell. He seems like he's hurt all the time now. So he's out. And I know a lot of people were clamoring for Jeff Wilson Jr. For waiver wires this week. And Debo, we know what he did last year. He was the running back there. They ran him too. So last week he had, I think, 9 rushes after Elijah Mitchell got hurt, on top of being a wide receiver. So you're going to get those duo points there. I don't know season long if he does rush it a while. They may give him double eligibility. It just depends on what site you're on. But I love Debo here for number 10 at wide receiver. But let's not forget, he's going to get some rushes as well. So duo threat there. Number 11 is Marquise Brown. Hollywood Brown really was non-existent last week. I did have a bunch of stacks with Kyler and Brown. It didn't really work out. Kyler just didn't have a very good game, but I've got it number 11 at Vegas. I think this will be a competitive game. This is the one that was very confusing last week. I have Mike Williams here at Kansas City. In theory, this should be a good game here. With Keenan Allen getting hurt, which is a big shocker, you would think they would feed Mike Williams. They did not, which I was very confused about. I think they get back on the right ship here. I think Mike Williams has a bounce-back day. Number 13 is Cortland Sutton versus Houston. Number 14 is Terry McLaurin at Detroit. And number 15 is Brandon Cooks at Denver. So if you want to see the rest, we do have 174 wide receivers ranked for week 2. So definitely check that out. Again, contest. Tell me what wide receiver will score the most amount of fantasy points and how many fantasy points will they score. You get that correct without going over. You get a free week, and you get that for every position. So moving to tight ends here, Travis Kelce. There's only a handful of tight ends where you can expect at least one score, if not multiple. And then you just kind of just hope and pray. So number 1, Travis Kelce leads our rankings. He was in the nuts. You had to win the Millie Maker last week. You had to have Kelce and Mahomes. And when we built our lineups with our stacks, the best way to build your DFS stacks now seems to be a QB and 1 pass catcher. Might be Kelce every week with Mahomes if you're stacking that way. But I absolutely love this matchup here as they host Justin Herbert and the Chiefs. So looking at the rest on the list, number 1, Travis Kelce versus the Chargers. Number 2 is Mark Andrews versus Miami. Number 3 is Kyle Pitts, who had a very bad game last week. See if he can right the ship. It is against the Rams, though, but we saw the Rams defense got ate up last week with Josh Allen. Again, though, the problem is Marcus Mariota's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's the problem. So we'll see. Kyle Pitts is obviously reliant on his QB, and nothing happened last week. It was the kicking game for Atlanta last week. Number 4 is Darren Waller versus Arizona. Should be a good game there. Number 5 is Dallas Goedert versus Minnesota. Number 6 is TJ Hawkinson versus Washington. Hawk didn't really have a very good game last week. Jared Goff just didn't look his way. Number 7 is Freiermuth versus New England. Number 8 is Zach Ertz versus the Raiders. Number 9 is Dawson Knox versus Tennessee. Very shocking. Dawson Knox last week, I think he had one target. I can't remember. It'll be on our matchup tool, but he wasn't utilized. I don't even think he was on the field very much. It was odd. Very odd. Number 10 is Dalton Schultz. I mean, there's not much going on in Dallas. It's going to be a long year in Dallas, I believe. And they don't really have very many good pass-catching options that actually have done anything lately. Dalton Schultz could be that dump-off pass guy because, again, Dak is out. They're going to have Cooper Rush or whoever starts. Schultz could be in store. It's a mess there in Dallas right now. Number 11 is Albert O. I think we saw what he did Monday night. I think he's there, just outside the top 10. Could maybe flip-flop with Schultz. It's very close. Number 12 is Gerald Everett at Kansas City. Number 13 is Cole Kmet. Number 14 is Tyler Higbee. And number 15 is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, I don't know. Don't know if Mac Jones will be in the game. Had back spasms last week. Probably in, but we'll see. And then it just depends on who the quarterback is there. So those are the top 15 tight ends. If you want to see the rest, we do have 174 tight ends ranked there for you. Go check that out. Again, you want to win a free week, got to like the video, be a subscriber, and tell me what tight end will score the most amount of fantasy points and how many points will they score. You got to have the points. Then we move to the defense rankings. These are really up in the air. Sometimes you want to pay up for defenses in DFS. Sometimes you just want to punt to build your lineups. Pittsburgh last week was number 1. I like them here. They do host New England in Pittsburgh this week. We took the Dolphins against New England last week, and it paid off. Don't know what quarterback's going to be throwing the ball there. Even if Mac Jones does, he's hurt. I do like Pittsburgh here. So number 1, Pittsburgh versus New England. Number 2, the 49ers versus Seattle. Love the 49ers last week. The weather was kind of a factor there. So nothing against them. I know they're going up against Geno Smith, who just had a good game against Denver, so we'll see, but it's still Geno Smith. Every turd could be polished for a couple of games a year. Geno Smith might be that turd. Number 3 is Denver Broncos versus Houston. Number 4 is the Browns at the Jets. Joe Flacco didn't look very good last week. I fully expect Flacco to play again this week, so definitely check that out. That might be something to just look at to see, but I do like the Browns there. Number 5 is Buffalo versus Tennessee. I do like their defense there. They're very stout. It would not surprise me if the Bills are the number 1 defense this week. It just depends. Number 6 is the Colts at Jaguars. Number 7 is the Rams at Atlanta. Number 8, the Ravens at Miami. Number 9, the Bengals at Dallas. Number 10, the Bucks at New Orleans. 11, the Packers versus Chicago. Just seems like the Packers always play up in Chicago or versus Chicago. Number 12 are the Saints versus Tampa Bay. Number 13, the Patriots at Pittsburgh. Number 14, the Eagles versus Minnesota. And number 15, the Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. So those are your rankings, everybody. Check that out. You want to win a free week again? Subscriber, like the video. Tell me what defense is going to win, or what defense is going to score the most amount of fantasy points in week 2, and how many points will they score. Get that correct, and we're good to go. So you can win. There's technically 6 ways to win. 5 of them are the rankings, and you win a week for that, each one that you are correct without going over. And the next one is once we had 59 more subscribers on here on YouTube to hit 7,000. And once we do hit 7,000, one lucky person will win. So part of FTA Plus, you can check that out real quick before we end the video. If you want to subscribe, you can. You get a month pass for $19.99. That's what it includes. You can get a month plus sports betting for $40. NFL season pass, This will be $2.99 by Sunday. If you use the promo code VIP customer, we have one coupon code left. Use the promo code VIP customer. We have one code left. If you use that code, you get that for $69.99, or the lifetime pass for $4.99. We have a ton of lifetime pass people. So you, again, if you anything monthly DFS plus sports betting and up does get sports betting. Didn't have a bad week. Could have had better week. I had Russell Wilson. I didn't have it on here, but I tweeted out Russell Wilson 2+ touchdown, and someone on Twitter DM'd me and said Russell Wilson 2+ touchdown clown emoji. I mean, the dude threw for 340. I'm sorry he didn't get 2 touchdowns. Like, it was a huge bet. But Cooper Kupp, we got that with the touchdown. Dawson Knox was a very weird... You can't see this. Or can you? Yeah, you can. Dawson Knox was a very weird... he was only on the field like a handful of snaps, which was weird. And then Buffalo. So, night 1, we went 2-1 there. New Orleans, very surprised that -5.5 didn't get there. Arizona, +7. I really thought that would be a competitive game. It was not. We had Baltimore -6.5. We had Travis Kelce as a touchdown. We had James Conner as a touchdown. We had Judy as a touchdown. All correct. And then we had MG3 for a touchdown. Would have had it really early in the game. Fumbled it at the goal line, which was crazy. So we went 6-4 last week on our 10 bets. It's not bad. I'm not saying we're not going to hit every single bet. But yeah, 6-4 is not bad on the week. Depending on, all of these touchdown prop bets would have all been plus pretty good money. The scoring might have been a little bit even. So love prop bets, so definitely check that out. So 6-4 to start the year. Last year we had, I believe it was a 72.5 clip rate on our bets, so we had a lot there last week. So we look to build on that. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, get them down below. Hit that like button, guys. If this video can get 30 likes and 30 plus comments, we will give out a FanDuel and DraftKings GPP lineup, and we'll pin that down below. So that's all I've got for week 2. Hopefully these rankings come in handy. Let's bring them some bacon. Peace.